Hello students, welcome to Disha. We are powered by Sarat Chandra IAS Academy. In Disha program, we teach the young minds of our country about important topics and concurrent events. Today we'll be talking about ISRO and why is it seemingly in some sort of trouble. We'll see why it's in the news, what is the issue, what is the problem, why supply is exceeding demand when it comes to ISRO, and what is the way forward. So let's start with why in news. So in June, as Somnath, so he is the chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO. This is our prime space agency. Whatever India is dealing with space, it is dealing through ISRO. And Secretary of Department of Space. Okay, this is the government branch of the space. Said ISRO's launch vehicle capability was three times the demand. That means we have three times the launch vehicles than the demand. Now, what is the demand for the launch vehicle? Why do we need launch vehicle? What are we launching? What are we launching? Okay, so we are essentially launching satellites. Now, what is it saying basically? That too many rockets and too few satellites to launch. So, launch vehicles are empty. There are no satellites to launch. What to do? Okay, so this is the trouble. Okay, just a second. So, many experts in the spaceflight sector said that this means the space market or space launch market was grim. So space launch market means satellites are not being launched. Satellites are not being launched. Alright, Mr. Somnath also suggested strong demand was needed for launch vehicles from the domestic Indian market. And that means someone should demand for satellite launch. So who are the customers for the satellite launch? Let's say startup, data startup, okay, cellular network startups, Geo, Reliance, etc. Okay, let's move forward. This is a launch vehicle. Here you can picture a launch vehicle. So this is a launch vehicle. Okay, now this portion is the payload portion. This portion is known as the payload portion. And inside of this portion only there is a satellite. Inside of this portion is usually a satellite. This portion is the fuel portion, fuel rocket. This portion is the fuel rocket. It detaches and this portion goes in the sky up above. This opens up and the satellite is then left in the sky or orbit. Okay, I'll demonstrate you here. Just a second. Okay, so this is how the payload opens up. This is the opening up of payload or payload shell. And this is the satellite that is left in the orbit. Okay, now what is the launch vehicles? What are the launch vehicles India is having? So India has four launch vehicles. India has four launch vehicles. Please remember four. The SSLV, small satellite launch vehicle, polar satellite launch vehicle PSLV, the geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle GSLV, and the launch vehicle Mark 3 LVM3. This LVM3 is the biggest. It can carry the heaviest payloads. Okay, and they can launch satellites weighing up to 4 tons. 4 tons, 4,000 kilos. Okay, to the geosynchronous orbit. India also relies on foreign launch vehicles like Europe's Ariane V and SpaceX Falcon 9. There was a news about Falcon 9 also recently about its failure. When a satellite weighs more than 4 tons, okay, Falcon 9 can carry much more heavier satellites. So at present, the country operates a fleet of satellites with applications in communication, remote sensing, positioning, navigation and timing, meteorology, disaster management, space-based internet, scientific mission, experimental missions. So many satellite applications we have. Okay, for these launch vehicles. But right now the market is slow. Right now the satellite market is slow. It also needs, let's say India also needs launch vehicle for space missions like Chandrayaan 3 and Aditya L1. Essentially, these are also satellites. Okay, now we can see the launch vehicles here. These are the SLV3, ASLV, PSLV, GSLV, and GSLV Mark 3. This is the biggest one. Okay, lift off weight is 640 ton. 4000 kg it can use the payload. Okay, 4000 kg it can carry. Okay, now let's see what is the demand and supply issue in the Indian satellite market. So, transition from supply driven to demand driven model. Old model was what? ISRO built and launched satellite first, then sought customers for the satellite services. Satellites were already in the sky. Satellites were already in the sky earlier. Now, post 1920, what has happened? Satellites are built and launched only if there is existing demand. So, this is the issue with the chicken and egg problem. What is the chicken and egg problem? Chicken gives the egg, and egg gives the chicken. So somebody asked who came first? Who came first, chicken or the egg? So there is no answer. Okay, the scientifically there is an answer that evolution happens in this is not the correct logical pathway. Okay, evolution takes place by various species, but chicken and the egg problem hypothetically assumes that chicken gives the egg and eggs give the chicken. So we cannot decide this is the first one or this is the second one. All right. So this is the issue. The egg is the satellite, and this is chicken is the customer. So earlier, what was happening? Satellite was in the sky first, then customer were coming. Now satellites we are launching only if the customer is coming. So customer is confused whether to come or not to come, as satellite is not already there. Okay, so this is the issue. So customer need to be educated about the benefit of satellite services to create demand. Once customers understand the need, demand will prompt satellite launches. So example, we can see GeoFiber. GeoFiber is still not reached many villages. So it is saying that first of all demand should be there. Demand should be there. Only then we will make reach the GeoFiber. And people are saying, "Arey, first let the GeoFiber reach us, then only we will purchase." Okay. So this is the chicken and the egg problem. So role of educators here. So the responsibility of educating customers about satellite services falls on ISRO or the industry to generate the required demand. Customer include various sectors such as companies, government institutions, defense enterprises, and the general public also. Okay, so what is the way forward from here? One is creating an ecosystem of demand and supply. So to create demand for various services, leading to the demand of data. Okay, so satellite. Satellite. Recently we talked about Kavach. Kavach were also using satellite systems, GPS satellite system. Basically, wherever there is data, the conveyance of data, there is satellite. There is satellite. Let's say this video, I am making this video at my home, in my class. It is going for YouTube. So how it is going to YouTube? Via satellite. Okay, how it's coming to your computer, your laptop, your phone? Via satellite. Okay, so we need satellite for data transfer. So if we create more data, if we create such jobs where data transfer is needed, we can have the demand for more satellites. So a richer ecosystem will generate greater demand. Next thing is government's role and objective. So what is the government's role here? What is the government's role here? So government want the private sector to create demand along customers, build and launch satellites. It aims for private companies to offer services both domestically and internationally. Basically, government is wanting that privatization should happen in the data market. Privatization should happen in the data market. More data should be demanded and generated so that we can provide the satellites. Okay. So government can act as an anchor customer. So private companies prefer the government to act as a customer and provide reliable regulations, not to compete in the launch business. Okay, so private companies are saying that we don't want to make satellites or launch satellites. You do that for us. Okay, government can be reliable revenue source for private companies, especially in the early stages. There is a roadmap for the government to eventually exit the launch vehicle business also in future. So it has already happened in USA. Okay, so Elon Musk has a SpaceX company. He has already built Falcon 9 rocket. Okay, this Falcon 9 can carry satellites. So government is giving revenue to this, let's say, company for carrying its own satellites. So government can act as an anchor customer first. Okay, so this is similar to the US model where government contract support companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. Blue Origin is of Amazon. It is of Amazon. Recently was in news for the space traveling and all, space tourism. Okay, so this is about today's lecture. If you have any comments, any feedback, you can let me know. Have a great day ahead. See you soon in the next lecture.